So welcome everyone joining. Some people joining in the future. We'll be taking about 10 minutes as I prepare sending out announcements and inviting everyone into the space. So if you're watching this later, just watching the recording, not live, you can skip ahead about 10 minutes and then you should find there the beginning of our reading followed by our meditation together. Okay, so please bear with me if you're watching live, and I'll be sending out some announcements, and then we'll get started in about 10 minutes. Okay, welcome everyone who's here, who's joining. We'll get started in about 10 minutes or so, a little bit less. Right now, I'm just sending out announcements to the community that we're having this event, and we'll get started in about 10 minutes. Okay, hello everyone. I see quite a few people have joined now. So we'll take about another 5 minutes before we get started, and we can utilize that time to breathe, to settle into whatever space we happen to be in as people join us for this community event, this live activity together. Please feel welcome to use the live chat to share any comments or to say hello. Seeing some friends here, Nino, Micah, Isaac, Anna. Glad to see you all here. We'll just be taking a few moments as people come in, joining in. Okay, welcome everyone. Lots of people joining from all around the world. We'll get started in just a few minutes, about 3 minutes, then we'll get started. And please welcome to say hello in the live chat, in the comments. Okay, we have Stephen joining, Patrick, Conk, Nagla Boy, Quantum, M, Atlas joining. Great. So hello everyone and welcome. Just a few more minutes and then we'll get started. During that time, we can breathe, we can settle into our bodies, taking this as an opportunity, not so much to consume something, to watch content, but more to engage, to show up in a certain kind of way in community. Okay. Welcome everyone. I am Bhante Varapañños. I am an American Buddhist monk living in Myanmar. And this event is an extension or something that's coming from an online community space that I facilitate. So this event is happening within the context of a community. And for anyone who's watching, who's joining this event, this is an opportunity to participate, to listen, to learn, to go into the practice of loving kindness, but it's also an invitation to community, a community of meditation, of loving kindness. So please feel welcome to reach out to me through the comments or through whatever means it may be to get in contact, and I'll help you to join that community and become a part of our regular events that we have. So today, a bit of a sensitive time here where I'm living in Myanmar. There's been a very serious shift in government, and people are very uncertain. People are confused. Some people are angry. So this is something that's very alive right now in the world where I'm living. And I felt that what better to do than to practice metta, to look at this reading of loving kindness and to practice it together. And it's quite a poignant chapter in this book that we'll be looking at, fighting fires with metta, fighting fires with loving kindness. So the format of this event will be a reading, and you don't necessarily need to have the text in front of you, but if you would like to, you can join our community on Discord, and we have the text available there. But if you don't have the text, you can just listen along, and we'll be reading from Loving Kindness in Plain English by Bhante Varapañños, who's a very famous, well-renowned Sri Lankan Buddhist monk. And through the past few months, we as a community have been reading through this together, and that's what we'll be doing today. But before we get started with the reading, I would request that in the spirit of engaging, not just consuming, many people from all over the world right now tuning in live together, that we would take a few moments of turning our attention inward, feeling our breath as it comes into the body, feeling the presence of the body in whatever position we find ourselves in at this moment. Noticing what we're aware of. How do we feel right now? What do we notice in the body? What do we notice about the mind? And as we do this, really touching into and tuning into our body and mind, the awareness of the body and mind, setting our intention for this group activity, to really take this as an opportunity to dive in, to step into the shoes of our life, to really listen, to really be present with our body and with our mind, bringing up a degree of sincerity that we may not usually be accustomed to. Feeling the breath, feeling this moment. Okay, so let's get started with the reading. This reading on Metta, loving kindness. Fighting fires with Metta, and this is chapter 10. To use anger as your defense mechanism when you experience hardship is similar to the response an animal would have in the wild. We may feel that anger is a very natural response to difficulty. But where does that lead? As the Buddha says in the Dhammapada, hatred is never appeased, never taken care of by more hatred. An angry response only leads to more anger. Yet if you respond to anger with loving friendliness, the other person's anger will slowly fade away. By love alone is anger appeased. Continues the verse in the Dhammapada. We can find a less reactive, more mindful way to handle hardship and suffering. We can respond from a place of wisdom instead of delusion or anger. In doing so, we will find that metta, not anger, is our best defense. So we often fall into the mindset that if someone wrongs us or if we're disturbed by something, the solution to that, to take care of that, is to be angry. That's our weapon. That's how we deal with it. What's being presented right now in the reading is that metta, loving friendliness, this kind of energy of compassion, patience, kindness, maybe how we would treat a loved one or how we would want to be treated if we were in a time of great suffering, that metta is actually our best defense and our best weapon in a certain sense when it comes to complex, difficult situations. A true practitioner of loving kindness is like a firefighter who fights the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. In the fire sermon, which is a traditional Buddhist text, Buddhist teaching, the Buddha said, "Our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are on fire. Visual objects, eye consciousness, eye contact, and feelings that arise dependent on contact, experienced as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, are all on fire. What fire? The fire of greed, hatred, and delusion, the fire of birth, growth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, grief, and despair." So it is to say that we're in a serious situation, that our senses, our contact with the environment puts us in a place where we're extremely vulnerable to suffering, to difficulty. Even those pleasant and those unpleasant situations and experiences are on fire. They're impermanent, they're changing, they're subject to difficulty. So being aware of this, we can kind of get involved. We can understand that this is an intimate, intense situation. If your house is on fire, you need to act. You don't have time to put your feet up and watch YouTube all day. It's a serious situation, and it, in some sense, inspires us or moves us to engage in our lives when there is a fire, when there's a serious situation. And so the Buddha is teaching here from the fire sermon is that our direct experience right now, our contact, our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are on fire, that we find ourselves in this immediate situation. Greed, hatred, delusion, negative thinking, non-practical thinking, the fire of birth, growth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, grief, and despair. Firefighters take care of themselves when they fight fires by wearing fire-resistant suits. And they undertake thorough training to become very skillful at their job. They also take all necessary precautions when they fight fires so they don't bring harm to themselves. Firefighters don't simply jump into their trucks when they hear the alarm. They rush to put on their protective suits and equipment and check the trucks before they take off, even though they inspect their fire trucks regularly. Similarly, we should not take anything for granted and always be prepared to meet any situation with mindfulness and metta. This is something that I often bring up, this mind of no excuses. In a normal kind of idea of a human being and society, there's many justifications for anger, greed, violence. There's many excuses. Oh, I'm a kind person, I'm a loving person, but this happened. So I'm going to try and harm another person, or I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to be have ill will towards them. I'm going to wish them suffering because there's this excuse. Or I want to practice loving kindness towards myself. I want to be a best friend towards myself. I want to really love myself. Oh, but this. This excuse comes up. So here, no excuses, no reason not to bring our equipment of loving kindness, loving friendliness. So we should not take anything for granted and always be prepared to meet any situation with mindfulness and metta. Just as a firefighter is always prepared to meet their situations, their fire, house fire, structural fire, whatever it is, with their equipment, with their protection, with their tools. In the same way, we should not take any moment for granted and always be prepared to meet any situation with mindfulness, with presentness of mind, not non-practical thinking or negative thinking, but mindfulness, awareness, and metta. We know we have the fire of greed, hatred, and delusion, the fire of hunger, thirst, grief, sorrow, lamentation, pain, and despair. These fires are burning day and night from the moment we are born until we die. So this, of course, relates to the first noble truth in Buddhism, that there is suffering. There is this fire. There's no way to get around it. There is a difficulty, pain, grief in life, birth and death. These fires are burning day and night from the moment we are born until we die. We have smoldering, slow-burning fires, quick and rapidly spreading fires, internal fires, external fires, deliberate fires, and spontaneous fires. So in this idea of fires, we have smoldering, slow-burning fires of difficulty, suffering, quick and rapidly spreading fires, things that kind of show up and spread very quickly, internal fires, fires within, external fires, things that are going on outside, deliberate fires, deliberate situations, and spontaneous fires that simply erupt out of nowhere. Just as firefighters go through training so they can respond appropriately to each occasion, we practice mindfulness to become experts in recognizing fires and to build up our skill to be able to put them out. So this book is focused on loving kindness meditation, metta meditation. But something that goes along with loving kindness meditation is mindfulness or concentration or awareness. At this moment, what's happening in the body? At this moment, what's happening in the mind? What's really happening at this present moment? And so with our mindfulness, with our concentration, our awareness, we can apply ourselves to each and every moment. We don't need to rely on non-practical thinking or negative thinking, we can engage and be aware of what's happening. So we practice mindfulness, and mindfulness practice is usually taught as simply awareness of the breath. We can close our eyes and put our attention onto the feeling of the breath coming into the body and going out. We can take a few deep breaths in that way, being aware. Hearing, feeling the body, the breath. And this quality of awareness is not looking for anything, it's aware. So in this mindfulness meditation, there's nothing that's imperfect, because it's perfectly imperfect. We're simply aware. We're not breathing right. Great. We're aware of how we're breathing, what it feels like. There's no not breathing right. There's no not meditating right in this sense. We are aware of the breath. We are aware of how the body happens to feel. We're aware of what we happen to be hearing. So mindfulness is awareness practice. It's not having a concentrated mind and om and having a special experience. No, it's being aware. It's tuning in. So we practice mindfulness to become experts in recognizing fires and to build up our skill to be able to put them out, to take care of them. Consider the story of Patachara, a woman who would become a revered elder nun in the Buddha's time. Before she became a nun, she lost her whole family in a single day, because her husband, 2 young children, parents, and brother perished in a series of unfortunate accidents in that short period of time. Patachara was devastated. After years of wandering like a beggar, blinded by sadness, she came across the Buddha. He rescued her from the fire of sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. First, by helping her regain her presence of mind, such that she could see clearly how another way of living was possible. Sometimes it takes meeting someone who has compassion, who has this loving kindness, to understand that that's a way that we can operate as human beings. We don't need to rely on anger or pain or negative thinking. We can rely on kindness, gentleness, patience, friendliness. No excuses. Can you imagine that kind of mind and embodying that intention over time and getting involved in that? No, there's not an excuse to be hateful towards this person, to carry animosity towards this person. No, there's not an excuse. And that's not to be passive. It's to maintain this practice of kindness, patience, forgiveness. Instead of trying to cause suffering, trying to relieve suffering. It's a very engaged activity, this kind of loving kindness. It's not that we just say, oh, I love everyone, I'm very loving. Moment to moment, when we notice that contraction of negativity, of hate, of anger, of greed or negative thinking come up, then we remember, oh, I want to be a different kind of person. I want to practice loving kindness right now, even though I'm angry and I'm upset. So in the case of Patachara, a woman who lost her entire family, she lived this life of lamentation, sorrow, pain, and grief and despair. She was immersed in this fire. And coming across the Buddha, the Buddha represents this embodiment of compassion. It's not that the Buddha has special powers, it's not so important. The Buddha represents that we can, and people have, and people do embody this total compassion. So when we meet them, we can kind of see, we can understand, oh, that's a way I can live. I can put out this fire. So he rescued her from the fire of sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, first by helping her regain her presence of mind, being present, tuning in, such that she could see clearly how another way of living was possible. Later on, when she was burning in the fire of passion, in grief for losing her family, the Buddha offered a teaching to rescue her from that fire. He shared with her the nature of impermanence, and the cooling balm of his loving friendliness and wisdom extinguished Patachara's fire over time and helped her develop these qualities as well. So we can be that for other people. We don't need to be a therapist, we don't need to be a medical professional, and we can be this embodiment that applies cooling balm to the fires of others. It's a difficult practice, and it's a revolutionary practice to do this in the modern world. But it's possible. It's a way of living. And there's a depth to it that you don't necessarily get just from thinking positively or, oh, I'm going to be nice to people. But there's certain excuses, moment to moment. How can we embody this cooling balm of loving friendliness and wisdom when we encounter other people's fires, other people's suffering? Over time, helping them to develop these qualities as well. But it starts with ourselves, of course. We apply this loving friendliness towards ourselves, firstly. With loving friendliness, calmness, and mindfulness, we have the tools to put out the fires in our minds. Sometimes it is a constant struggle, but Patachara's story shows us that we too can experience peace when we open our minds and hearts to loving friendliness. We have a natural, innate capacity for metta that no fire can destroy. And this metta itself is a powerful fire extinguisher. We are not the only ones who benefit from loving friendliness. When we protect ourselves from suffering and distress with metta, we also protect others and the environment. Similarly, when we protect others and the environment, we also protect ourselves. But change must start with us. Firefighters wear protective gear in order to protect potential victims of fire. Doctors protect themselves from disease so that they can keep their patients healthy. In case of a loss of cabin pressure aboard an airplane, parents put their oxygen masks on first, and then put masks on their children. Taking care of ourselves like this is not selfish when we are developing metta. When we practice metta, we protect our heart from being swept away from itself. And naturally, we also help others protect themselves. Metta is our best defense because it protects both others and ourselves from the fires of mental harm. So that's the end of our reading portion. Let's take a few minutes or a few moments to find a position for our metta meditation together. So now we're going to go through a kind of lesson, guided loving kindness practice. This is the traditional Buddhist methodology of cultivating metta for ourselves. So kind of developing that equipment to fight fires, protecting ourselves. So taking a moment to find a position for your body to be still, relaxed, but also aware. Could be laying down, could be sitting in a chair, maybe sitting in a floor, could be anything. And when we get into that position, we can bring our attention onto the body. And we can bring our attention onto the feeling of the breath happening. And in cultivating metta, we will use phrases. And it's not just these words or these phrases that are the practice of metta, the cultivation of loving friendliness, but more so it's our sincerity, it's our heart, it's our presentness, our showing up that we're putting into these words. And some of us may not be used to speaking with this degree of sincerity, or trying to connect with that sincerity. It doesn't need to be perfect. And while we may have experience being sincere, we may not have experience speaking like this towards ourselves. And that's what we'll be starting with. So feeling the body, feeling the breath. As we breathe, bringing the mind home to the body. And throughout our practice, we can take the breath, the feeling of the breath, as our anchor into the present. So if we get off track or we get distracted, we can simply take a few deep breaths and come back to the present and continue with our practice. So repeating after me as we begin to practice metta, loving friendliness meditation. Repeating after me either internally or externally, it's up to you. Putting our heart and aligning with these intentions into these words. Breathing. Let's begin. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. Breathing into these words. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to me. May no harm come to me. May no harm come to me. May no difficulties come to me. Really say it. Don't be shy. May no difficulties come to me. May no problems come to me. May no problems come to me. May I always meet with success. May I always meet with success. May I be free from fear. May I be free from fear. May I feel loved. May I feel loved. May I also have patience, courage, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. So in this practice, we're not so much saying empty words, loose phrases. We are bringing up the energy of metta, the energy of a mother cradling her newborn child. There's no excuse. There's no debate. There's loving kindness. And so we're speaking to ourselves in that way. May I always meet with success. This next section that we'll be repeating is directly from the Metta Sutta, so a traditional Buddhist text. So we will repeat these phrases together a number of times, and then as we finish that metta practice, tuning into this energy of loving kindness, this energy of loving friendliness towards ourselves, I'll close our meeting together by chanting in the traditional Buddhist language the words that we had just read. So continuing on with our metta practice and really considering to be with the breath and the body as we practice this as a kind of embodied practice, an energetic practice. The words are more to direct ourselves and align ourselves with our innate capacity for loving kindness, bringing this energy up more and more. So repeating after me. May I be free from ill will and danger. May I be free from ill will and danger. May I be free from ill will and danger. May I be free from mental suffering. May I be free from mental suffering. May I be free from mental suffering. May I be free from physical suffering. May I be free from physical suffering. May I be free of physical suffering. May I take care of myself happily. May I take care of myself happily. May I truly take care of myself happily. So, as we feel this energy, this softness, presence, tenderness of loving friendliness towards ourselves, and as we say these words each time, putting our sincerity into them, whatever that may be at that moment, we'll now practice expressing that intention outwardly towards all beings in the next portion of what we'll be saying. May all beings be free from ill will and danger. May all beings be free from ill will and danger. May all beings be free of mental suffering. May all beings be free from mental suffering. Breathing. May all beings be free from mental suffering. May all beings be free from physical suffering. May all beings be free from physical suffering. May all beings take care of themselves happily. May all beings take care of themselves happily. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings truly find freedom from suffering. May it be so. May it be so. May it be so. So keeping along with this energy and intentionality, I invite everyone to listen deeply as I offer Buddhist chanting of the Metta Sutta in the traditional Buddhist language. Avero Omi Aniga Omi Avyapajo Omi Sukhiyatana Parihara Sabbe Sattva avirahontu. Avyabhaja hontu. Anigo Sukhiyatanam Pariharantu. Sukhita hontu. Dukkha muccata. Sadhu. 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 Okay, so that is the end of our loving kindness group practice together. I want to express my sincere thank you to everyone who has joined live. And I know some people watch the recordings afterwards. The recording will be posted on YouTube. So thank you so much, everyone who's attended. And if this is your first time attending, you're very much welcome to join our community on Discord. Discord is a really wonderful app for community. Me and the other members of the community have had a lot of good luck with it. And I posted the link to that Discord on in the chat, in the live chat. So welcome to click on that and join if you're not already a member. And please, I encourage you to bring this spirit, this feeling, this energy of loving kindness into your life regularly. And we doing our best, trying our best. It's not perfect, not about being a perfect, loving, kind person. More moment to moment, how can we apply loving kindness? How can we deal with the fire that we find ourselves in this moment? No excuses for not practicing that loving kindness. Just being aware of whatever the fire happens to be and bringing up this energy of metta, of loving kindness. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. We will end our live event now and hope to practice together again. Da, do, da, do, da.